All right, so we have a test tomorrow. Wanted to give you a key, video key, so if you needed help with anything, if you want to get your review signed and bring it back completed and signed, you can get your 5 bonus points. There is a review question on domain and range. Remember, domain is X and range is Y, and our pattern is always something is less than X or Y is less than something. Also, closed circle is going to be or equal to with the line. Open circle is just less than. So if we look at the window, remember domain is left to right. So my left boundary here is -2. I do have a closed circle, so less than or equal to X. My right boundary is going to be 3, and it is an open circle. I just kind of colored over that a little bit. Open circle, so it's just less than. If we're going to do range, that's going to be bottom to top. My bottom boundary is -4. And again, that is an open circle, so less than Y. My top boundary is 2. It is a closed circle, less than or equal to. Number 2 talks about parallel lines. We talked about parallel lines mean that we have the same slope. So first we need to look at this graph and find the slope. It is a positive. Here are my pretty points. So I'm going to go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is 1/4, and I know that because they're parallel, it will be the same. So I can cancel out these two because those slopes are negative. Now I have a point, I have an x1, y1, so I need to use point slope form to set this up. So y minus my y1 is 1 equals my slope is 1/4 parentheses x minus, and when I do minus a negative, it becomes a positive. So I need to look at these very carefully. We're going to go with H. Number 3 is a review from Unit 1. Don't call me after dark. Distribute, collect like terms, move your variables to one side, add, subtract, divide, multiply. So in order for us to do this, first step is always distribute. Make sure you multiply all the way through. Now, we are only multiplying the number directly in front of the parentheses. So I'm going to bring my 19 down. 4 times y is 4y. 4 times a -3 is a -12. I'm going to bring down my 7. 8 times 2 is 16y. Don't forget those letters. 8 times 3 is 24. That was my distribute. Collecting like terms means that I have things that match on the same side. We do not do the inverse operation when we do this. We simply need to put them together. So 19 minus 12 is 7. Bring down my plus 4y. 7 and 24 is 31 plus 16y. M, move your variables to one side. If you can move the smaller, do so. This is a positive 4y, so I need to subtract it. 7 equals 31. 16y minus 4y is a positive 12y. Then I need to undo my add, subtract. This is a positive 31, so I'm going to subtract it. I've run out of room, so I'm going to write over on this side. 7 minus 31, be careful with your signs, is a -24. And then I have equals 12y. Divide is my last step. I'm multiplying by 12, so I need to divide. -24 divided by 12 is a -2. You can always take and plug this -2 back into your original equation to check it. Number 4, what is the rate of change? So rate of change is just another way of saying slope. So you have a couple of options on this. You can use your yellow calculator and do 413. You can do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You can do change in y over change in x. I'm going to go ahead and use these 2 points. I'm just going to do y2 minus y1. So here's my x1, here's my y1, here's my x2, here's my y2. So 0 minus a negative 3 becomes a positive, over x2 is 0 minus a negative 1 becomes a positive. You could put that in your calculator if you wanted. 3 over 1 is just 3. You could write either answer. Perpendicular. Perpendicular means that we need to do the opposite sign and flip the fraction for our slope. I have an x1 and a y1 here because we're going to need to do point slope. So here's my current slope. It is a negative, so I'm going to make it a positive, and it's 3/4. I'm going to flip-flop that to make it 4/3. And then I can use my point slope form, y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Now it does want us to change to slope intercept, which is y equals mx plus b. So we do need to distribute, and when I distribute my 4/3, I get 4/3 x. You can use your calculator. 4/3 times negative 3 is negative 4. Make sure you bring the rest down. So step 1 was distribute, and now we need to move our y1. So it's a negative 6. I'm going to add it. Y equals 4 over 3x. Negative 4 and 6 is a positive 2. Graph the line that is represented in the equation. We did a little bit of practice in the last unit of this. We need to make sure we change this to y equals. So in order to do that, this is a positive 6x. I'm going to minus it because I want to get that y all alone. When you bring this down, please, please, please bring down the negative. A lot of people do great work here and they forget their sign and it messes everything up. Last step is to divide everything by that negative 5. We want this y alone and positive, so it needs to be a negative divided by a negative. To get that positive, positive 15 divided by negative 5 is negative 3. You can graph this in Desmos to make sure it looks correct. I do want you to remember that you do not graph decimals. When we do this in the computer, it will jump and it will mark your answer wrong. So my y-intercept is negative 3. My slope is 6 over 5. So rise 6, run 5. Make sure when you pick points in the computer, they are nice, pretty points. Graph f of x equals x is transformed to form g of x equals 4 f of x. Do both graphs below. So you definitely want to be using your Desmos for that. And you should have your computer so that you can do that. So I'm just going to use the Desmos on my phone. So there's my f of x equals x. If you needed to look at the table to see what it looked like to get those pretty points, you could. It simply has a slope of 1 and is going through the origin. Pay attention to your labels. So this is our original. If I want to graph the second one, I can do g of x equals 4 f of x. Let me change that color real quick so we can see it better. It is blue. So I can make a table for that as well if I wanted to get some nice pretty points. 0, 0, 1, 4, negative 1, negative 4. I grab a different color for us on this one, just so you can see it a little bit better. So that you could compare them. So you can see, in fact, that g of x is steeper than f of x. You could also say f of x is less steep. So make sure you're using your Desmos for that. What is the equation line that passes through negative 5, 8? There's my x1, y1, and has a slope of 0. So we've talked about OI-VUX. So if I need a slope of 0, that is going to be an OI. Remember, OI stands for horizontal, 0 slope, y equals equation. You could even draw a graph of this if you wanted. -5, +8 is here. If I have a slope of 0, this is a horizontal line. Here's my -5, this is my 8. So we have a y equals, I'm crossing my y-axis, which is this one. Y equals 8. So make sure you know the difference between a horizontal and a vertical line, which is our next one. So if this is a VUX, a vertical, undefined, x equals equation, well, it's asking me the slope. Well, I just did the slope right here. Undefined slope. X equals, well, what number am I crossing on the x-axis? Right here, x equals -2. So if it helps you to write the OIVUX on your test paper, then I would suggest you definitely do that. The linear parent function is shown on the graph, so this is your f of x. Draw the new graph. All right, so again, we're going to use Desmos for this. And when we do that, we need to remember a couple of things. Just gonna go through and edit this one. So I'm going to make it negative, and then on the end I'm going to say +2. So we can see, in fact, that it flipped. It flipped because of the negative, and then the +2 made it go up 2. So we can even make a little note, right? This is going to flip it. This is going to go up 2. So here, if you wanted to look at the table in Desmos, you could, so that you could see exactly those nice pretty points. All right, number 11, there's a typo. I put a note about this in Google Classroom. It was also on the board. Notice this is a 4 and these are 2s. So we just need to change the 2s to 4s for this to make sense. Which statements are true? Okay, so again, we're going to want to use our Desmos here. So I'm going to just edit what I already have so I don't have to retype everything. 2/3, and then we're going to put a -4. Now, sometimes it's difficult to see when we have a lot going on. So I'm actually going to take off this -4 because this is talking about steeper. And I can see black is my original, and then it changed to the blue. So I can see the blue is less steep. So I can say G is less steep than F. I can say F is steeper than G. So pay attention to the wording and the order. F is steeper than G because the original is this black line. Then I'm going to take off my 2/3 and I'm going to put my -4 back on there so I can see what happened. I can see, in fact, that it went down 4, which is what C says. And the y-intercept, here's my y-intercept, this over here, this one is my x-intercept or my 0, here's my y-intercept, is down 4 from the y-intercept of F. So I can see here on the edge, it is down 4, not up. So make sure you're graphing and you're looking at that. This particular question, you're given this, and then it says, what is A? Notice A is in front, and it's multiplying. A is the same as slope. So you can do a couple of things. You can do rise over run. You could do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You could do 413 in your calculator. Either way, whichever method you prefer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Count carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it is a positive. It is going up. So I have rise 12 over run 9. If we're not sure, in fact, what that simplifies to, you can use your Desmos calculator. So we can say 12 divide 9. And if you push this little fraction button, it will change it to a fraction for you. Or you could do that in your yellow calculator. So our slope here is 4/3 is our A. A is just slope. It is multiplied in front of X, just like M. Okay, so we did this in class the other day. What is the equation? This is, you have to do 413 for this, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you pay attention. Make sure you put your numbers in correctly. So and you need to put in all of the numbers. Okay, X and Y. So remember, this is going across, so make sure that you put those in correctly. Don't go up and down. And then we have negative 12, negative 9, negative 1, 2, 5, 9, and 12. And we're going to go menu 413, X and Y. So remember, we are looking for, it wants our equation for our table. So here's my M. So I'm going to kind of swap sides so I can write this down. Y equals negative 1.23. Don't forget your X on your slope. Our B, we could just say plus 7. You could put 7.02 if you really wanted to. If it's multiple choice, you'll be able to find the answer that's closest to yours. And then it says, what is the correlation coefficient? So we said don't do R squared. We want R. Okay, R is our correlation coefficient. So negative 0.98, so it is a negative. And we said because this is close to 1, close to negative 1, that means it is strong. Okay. Which of the following does not show causation? So that means that there is no cause effect. Like when we read it, we're like, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. Do remember if they give us a table like we had on our quiz, remember it's association or both. We don't choose just causation. So does texting and driving, is that causing car accidents? Yes, that is true. This is a cause effect. The more cigarettes you smoke, the higher your chance of lung cancer. Yes, that makes sense. Students with large feet have better grades? Probably not. Maybe. Who knows? The more you exercise, the more calories you burn. Yes. So which one is not causation? Which one is just association, just measurable? Large feet and better grades. We talked about trend lines. So you did this also in 8th grade. You're just going to kind of draw your line in the middle of all your dots. Okay, you want about the same amount of dots on each side, kind of in the middle. And you can see when we do that, my B is about 3.5. Okay, so not 1/2, not 2. And so it could maybe be 4 if I drew it off a little bit, but we can look at our slope. So 3.5, this is 7/2. Well, if I counted up 7, that's way up here. So up 1/2 makes more sense for our equation. And the last one is making a prediction. So if you look, we have X and we have Y. We have height and weight. If we're talking about inches, this is our X. We have to do 413 before we can do anything there. So here is our calculator. Start a new document. You don't want a whole lot of lists and spreadsheets open because they'll start confusing each other. So 62, 63, 65, 67, 68, and 69. And then the weight for those is 115, 124, 130, 140, 144, 147. And again, we're just doing menu 413. So I can see my equation. So y equals, you can call it 4.4x minus 156.6. Now, if they're telling us that x is 77, then I'm going to put my 77 where the x is. And I can just use my calculator to figure that out. So 4.4 times 77 minus 156.6, and I get y is about 182.2 pounds. Now, if this is multiple choice, you could, and it wasn't exactly 182, you could still pick your answer. So make sure that you're gonna plug in 77 for X. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, see your teacher before the test on Friday morning. Have a great day.